The Finance Applications Part 2. What we want to consider in this video are the future value of an annuity and present value of an annuity formulas. Now you already have a handout with 2 pages that shows you how to use the formulas as you have been given them on another handout. Getting them through the calculator, it takes 3 steps, and it helps if you use the ANS feature of the calculator in an intelligent way. What I'm going to do in this video here is show you how you can do or work with, I should say, those formulas, but using that TVM solver that we talked about in Finance Applications Part 1. So what we're going to do is we look at example 1 here. It asks us to find the amount or future value of an ordinary annuity. Remember, we're always working with ordinary annuities of $25 per month for 10 years at 5% per year compounded monthly. So what we have here is someone is depositing $25 every month into an account that earns 5% per year. Interest is compounded every month. All this happens at the end of months. And this is going to happen for 10 years. All right. And what we want to do is we want to figure out what the value of all of those payments are. Obviously, the first payment is going to earn interest for 10 years, or just about. The second payment a little bit less. The third payment a little bit less yet, until we get all the way out to the very last payment, which actually doesn't earn any interest. And this formula is going to figure all that out for us. So if we press apps on the calculator and then choose option number 1 for the finance apps, and then choose option number 1 again for TVM solver, we get this screen, which we're already somewhat familiar with. All right, and what we need to start with is the total number of compounding periods, and we see that this is a 10-year deal with monthly compounding, so we're going to take 10 years times 12 compounding periods per year, and we will end up with 120 compounding periods once we type that in and press enter. So we're going to take 10 times 12 for a total of 120 compounding periods. Our interest rate is 5. It is important that you keep straight, again, the difference between entering the interest rate just as a percent, in this case 5 in the TVM solver, but if you're using the formulas it would be 0.05. We have to enter it in decimal form. All right. When we first open this account to start putting money into it, we assume that there is nothing in it, so we will put 0 for the present value. Now we're finally going to take a look at this payment. And in this case, our payment is going to be $25 at the end of every month for the next 10 years. Future value, we don't know, so we can just leave that as it is. We're going to solve for that. And again, here we have payments per year and compounding periods per year. They're both going to be the same at 12. And if you just simply change the payments per year, the first one, the calculator will assume that they're going to be the same and change compounding periods per year to 12. And with ordinary annuities, everything happens at the end of our periods, so we're going to leave payment at the end of the period. So there's all of our information for the problem. We're going to cursor up to future value because that's what we're trying to figure out. And then we're going to press alpha and enter, which gives us solve. Again, solve is in the same color as your alpha key, so that's how we get it. In this case, we ignore the negative sign, and we note that that account would be worth $3,882.06 when we're all done. All right. Now I'm going to quit out of here for a moment. Actually, what I'm going to do is go back into the applications menu, and I'm going to go back into finance. But this time, see that we have a calc menu where we've been choosing TVM solver, and we also have a VARS menu. Let's go over to this VARS menu for a second. And you'll see here that you can find variables that represent the various values that we were just plugging in. So I'm going to choose option 5. And actually, I shouldn't have done it on this screen. But what I have there is future value equals future value. I can press enter, and it's replaced with that number. All right, let's quit out of here. Make sure we're back to our calculation screen. Go back into apps. Choose option number 1 for finance. But again, instead of choosing the TVM solver, I'm going to go over to the VARS menu. I'm going to choose option 5, and I'm going to press enter. If you don't like the negative, what you also could have done is done negative, and then we can just simply take, in this case, second answer, or you could go through and get the FV again. Oops. Try that one more time. We get negative, then we press second and the negative key to get the previous answer up. We'll press enter and that'll make it positive. Now, what I want to show you just briefly here is we invested $25 120 different times. So our own money went in $25 times 120 times, where we invested $3,000. So the other $882.06 that we have in that account is all of the interest that we've earned on all those payments over 10 years. All right, and this is, I finished the previous video by saying, extend these problems, think about it a little bit, try to ask yourself these kind of questions. How much is principal? How much is interest? And get a feel for how all this stuff works. So it's not just numbers coming out of formulas going into and out of formulas, but you start to have some understanding for it. There's so much that we do in life that has to do with these types of situations, and even more when we get into the part 3 video, that it's a really good thing to understand them as best you can. All right, example 2 wants us to find the present value of an ordinary annuity of $25 per month for 10 years at 5% per year compounded monthly. So instead of finding out how much all of these $25 deposits are worth at the end of the 10 years, in example 2, we want to find out what's an equivalent amount of money to have right now at the very moment that we would start this account. All right, so let's go back into our solver. We're going to press Apps, choose option 1 for Finance, and then we'll choose option 1 again on the next menu to choose the TVM solver. There we go. All right, and we've essentially already entered all of the numbers, but there's one thing that we need to be careful of, and that's this future value. All right, when we talk about present value of an ordinary annuity, one way to think of this is think of it as a loan. All right, assume that you're making payments on a loan that are $25 a month for 10 years, and the interest rate on the loan is 5% per year, compounded monthly. What was the value of the loan is another way to think of this type of question. All right, and if you think about how you pay down a loan, once you're done paying it off at the end of the 10 years, you don't owe anything more, so the value of the loan at that time is 0. So we need to make sure that we set the future value to 0 when we're dealing with trying to calculate the present value of something. All right, now all of our numbers will work. We've got 120 compounding periods, 5% interest, a $25 payment. We've got 12 periods per year, everything happening at the end. In this case, we're assuming that our future value is 0. We want to know what the present value is. So we'll press alpha and the enter key to get the calculator to solve. And we find out that $2,357.03 would have been the loan amount. So if you took out a loan for that amount today and got 5% interest, monthly compounding, and you were going to pay it off over 10 years, you'd have to pay $25 a month to pay it off. All right. So once again, you could go to the other screen and figure out that you paid a total of $3,000, and $3,000 minus the $2,357.03 would tell you how much interest you paid. This is the actual principal you paid on the original loan, and the difference between your payments and this is the interest. So you would have paid about $643 roughly in interest on that loan.